Hey man, we need to talk about something that most guys never see coming. The moment she realizes you've emotionally checked out. See, most men think they're being subtle, think they're hiding their feelings, keeping things under control. But what if I told you she can sense the shift before you even fully realize it yourself? What if that distance you think you're creating quietly is actually screaming louder than any argument ever could? Today, we're breaking down exactly what happens when a woman realizes you've mentally and emotionally walked away from her. And listen, this isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding the raw psychology of what goes through her mind when she feels you slipping away. Because once you understand this, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the emotional battlefield that most guys never even know they're fighting on. Let's get into it. The first thing you'll notice is she starts overcompensating with attention. You ever notice how when you pull back emotionally, she suddenly becomes more affectionate, more attentive, more available? It's like she's trying to fill the void she senses but can't quite name yet. She'll start doing things she hasn't done in months, maybe years. Cooking your favorite meal, texting you more throughout the day, asking about your day with genuine interest that seemed to disappear somewhere along the way. But here's the thing, this isn't random. This is panic in disguise. She can feel the emotional distance, even if you haven't said a word about it yet. Women are intuitive creatures. They pick up on energy shifts before most men even realize they're broadcasting them. So when she starts overcompensating with attention, it's not because she suddenly remembered how much she loves you. It's because she's trying to pull you back from wherever you've gone emotionally. And the crazy part? She doesn't even fully understand why she's doing it yet. It's pure instinct. Survival mode kicking in when she senses the foundation shifting beneath her feet. Next, she becomes hyper-aware of your responses, or lack thereof. Suddenly, every text you send gets analyzed. Every conversation gets dissected. You used to respond with paragraphs. Now you're sending one-word answers. You used to call her beautiful. Now you barely acknowledge her appearance. You used to initiate conversations. Now you're just responding. And she notices all of it. Here's what's happening in her mind. She's running through every interaction, trying to figure out when things changed. She's comparing your current behavior to how you used to be, and the contrast is driving her crazy. Because she can see the difference, but she doesn't know why it's happening yet. Women remember everything about how you made them feel in the beginning. And when that feeling starts to fade, they notice immediately. So when she starts questioning your responses, asking things like, "Are you okay?" or "Is everything all right between us?" she's not being needy. She's trying to understand why the man she fell for seems to be disappearing right in front of her eyes. Then something interesting happens. She starts testing you with small conflict. This one's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Ever notice how when you've emotionally checked out, she suddenly becomes picky about things that never bothered her before? She'll criticize how you load the dishwasher, complain about your friends, or bring up that thing you did 3 months ago that she said she was over. Most guys think she's just being difficult, but here's what's really happening. She's testing to see if you still care enough to fight back. See, when a man is emotionally invested, he engages. He defends himself. He shows passion, even if it's frustration. But when you've checked out, you just shrug, agreed to avoid conflict, or worse, you don't respond at all. And that terrifies her. Because a man who doesn't fight for the relationship is a man who doesn't care about the relationship. So these little tests, they're not about the dishwasher or your friends. They're about seeing if there's still fire left in you, if there's still something worth fighting for. And when you fail those tests by not engaging, that's when she knows for sure something fundamental has shifted. Here's where it gets heartbreaking. She starts questioning everything about herself.
When she realizes you've emotionally checked out, she doesn't immediately blame you. She blames herself first. She'll start asking questions like, did I gain weight? Have I been too demanding? Am I not interesting anymore? She'll start changing things about herself, trying to become whatever she thinks will bring you back. She might start working out more, buying new clothes, trying to reignite that spark that seems to have faded. And here's the brutal truth. This phase is the most dangerous because she's willing to lose herself trying to save something that might already be over. She'll twist herself into knots trying to figure out what she did wrong, when the reality might be that nothing she did caused your emotional withdrawal. But women are wired to internalize relationship problems. They assume if you're pulling away, it must be something they did or didn't do. And watching someone you once cared about tear themselves apart trying to fix something that isn't their fault, that's when you realize the real cost of emotional withdrawal. Another sign you'll notice is she becomes desperate for validation. You used to tell her she was beautiful without her having to fish for it. You used to make her feel desired, wanted, needed. But now that you've emotionally checked out, those affirmations have stopped. And she's starving for them. So she starts asking, do you still think I'm pretty? Do you still love me? Do you still want to be with me? And here's the kicker. When she asks these questions, she's not looking for empty reassurance. She's looking for genuine feeling behind your words. And when you've emotionally checked out, even if you say the right things, she can hear the emptiness in your voice. She can feel the distance in your touch. She can sense that you're just going through the motions without any real emotion behind them. And this is when she realizes that something fundamental has changed, that the man she's with physically isn't really there emotionally anymore. And that realization hits her like a freight train. Here's where the psychology gets interesting. Once she fully grasps that you've emotionally checked out, she stops trying to pull you back and starts protecting herself instead. She'll start creating distance herself. Stop reaching out first. Stop initiating conversations. Stop trying to make plans. She mirrors your energy and gives you exactly what you've been giving her. Nothing.
Because when she stops trying, when she stops caring, when she stops fighting for your attention, that's when the silence becomes deafening. You get used to her efforts to reconnect, even if you're not reciprocating them. But when those efforts stop, when she finally accepts that you've checked out and decides to do the same, that's when you realize how much space she was filling in your life, even while you were emotionally absent. And here's the brutal truth. By the time she reaches this point, she's often already started the process of moving on mentally and emotionally, even if she's still physically there. Something else you'll notice is she starts making independent decisions. Remember when she used to ask your opinion about everything? What to wear, where to go, what to eat for dinner? But now she's making plans without consulting you, buying things without mentioning it, deciding on her own. Because she's realized that you're not really present for those conversations anyway. This isn't rebellion. This is adaptation. She's adapting to your emotional absence by learning to live without your input. And here's what most guys don't realize. When a woman stops including you in her decision-making process, she's not being disrespectful. She's being realistic. She's accepting that you've already removed yourself from the equation emotionally, so she's just adjusting the practical aspects of the relationship to match the emotional reality. And this is dangerous territory, because once she gets comfortable making decisions without you, once she realizes she can function independently, it becomes that much easier for her to imagine a life that doesn't include you at all. Then she stops sharing her world with you. Used to be she'd tell you about her day, her dreams, her fears, her frustrations, but now those conversations have dried up. She's not sharing her thoughts anymore, not because she doesn't have any, but because she's realized you're not really listening anyway. When you're emotionally checked out, you might be hearing her words, but you're not receiving them. You're not engaging with them. You're not responding with the emotional investment she needs to feel connected. So she stops trying to connect. She keeps her thoughts to herself, starts confiding in friends instead of you, starts processing her emotions independently. Because she's learned that bringing them to you doesn't provide the emotional support she needs. And here's the scary part. Once she stops seeing you as her emotional partner, once she stops viewing you as someone she can share her inner world with, you've essentially become a roommate, not a romantic partner.
And that transition happens so gradually that most guys don't even notice until it's too late. The final stage is the most telling. She starts preparing for life without you. This is when she might not be ready to have the conversation yet, but she's already started mentally preparing for what life would look like without you. She's thinking about her finances, her living situation, her future plans. And you're not featured in them anymore. She might start saving money separately, looking at apartments even if she's not ready to move out yet, reconnecting with old friends, building a support system that doesn't revolve around you. Because she's realized that emotionally, you're already gone. So she needs to be prepared for when you're physically gone too. And here's what's crazy about this stage. She might still love you. She might still hope things will change, but she's not betting her future on it anymore. She's not waiting for you to come back emotionally. She's accepting that you might not and planning accordingly. Now, here's the thing that most guys don't understand about emotional withdrawal. You think you're protecting yourself. You think you're maintaining control. You think you're avoiding conflict. But what you're really doing is creating a slow motion breakup. You're ending the relationship incrementally, piece by piece, until there's nothing left to save. And the woman you're with, she can feel every piece as it falls away. She experiences every stage of your emotional withdrawal, even if you think you're being subtle about it. Because here's the truth about women. They don't just listen to your words, they feel your energy. They don't just see your actions, they sense your intentions. And when your intentions shift, when your emotional investment decreases, when your presence becomes just physical rather than emotional, they know, and they react accordingly. Look, I'm not here to judge whether emotional withdrawal is right or wrong. Sometimes it's a natural response to being hurt, disappointed, or simply outgrowing a relationship. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism. Sometimes it's just what happens when two people drift apart. But what I want you to understand is that it's not as invisible as you think it is. The woman in your life, she's not blind to what's happening. She's experiencing every stage of your emotional departure, and she's responding accordingly, whether that's by fighting harder to reconnect or by starting her own process of letting go. And here's what I really want you to consider. If you've emotionally checked out of your relationship, ask yourself why. What led to that decision? Because emotional withdrawal isn't usually random. It's usually a response to something. Disappointment, resentment, feeling unappreciated or undervalued. Maybe you tried to communicate your needs and felt unheard. Maybe you gave everything you had and didn't feel like it was reciprocated. Maybe you just realized you've outgrown the relationship and don't know how to address it directly. Whatever the reason, understand that emotional withdrawal might protect your heart, but it devastates hers. And if she's someone you still care about, even if you're not in love with her anymore, she deserves honesty, not slow motion abandonment. But here's the flip side. If you've emotionally checked out because you've been hurt or disappointed in the relationship, withdrawal might actually be the wake-up call she needs. Sometimes people don't realize what they have until they feel it slipping away. Sometimes emotional withdrawal forces conversations that should have happened months ago. Sometimes it creates the space necessary for both people to evaluate what they really want from the relationship and from each other. The key is understanding what your emotional withdrawal is really about. Is it temporary, to a specific issue that could be resolved with communication? Or is it a permanent shift that signals the end of your emotional investment in the relationship? Because the answer to that question determines whether your withdrawal is a problem to be solved or a reality to be accepted. If it's temporary, if there's still love there, still investment, still hope, then you owe it to both of you to address what's causing the withdrawal before it becomes permanent. Because once she goes through all these stages, once she accepts that you've emotionally checked out and starts protecting herself accordingly, it becomes much harder to rebuild that connection even if you want to. But if it's permanent, if you've truly emotionally checked out because you've realized this isn't the relationship for you, then the kindest thing you can do is be honest about it. Don't let her go through months of trying to reconnect with someone who's already gone. Don't let her tear herself apart trying to fix something that isn't broken. It's just over. Don't let her waste her time and energy on a relationship that you've already ended in your mind. Because here's what I've learned about relationships. They require two people who are emotionally present, two people who are invested, two people who are willing to show up, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And when one person checks out, the relationship becomes unsustainable. It becomes a slow bleed that hurts everyone involved. So if you recognize yourself in what I've described today, if you realize that you have emotionally checked out of your relationship, I want you to ask yourself some hard questions. Why did this happen? What led to your emotional withdrawal? Is this something that can be addressed and resolved? Or is this your mind and heart telling you that it's time to move on? And whatever the answer is, honor it. Honor your truth and honor hers. Because staying in a relationship where you're emotionally absent doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve you because you're not getting what you need. It doesn't serve her because she's not getting what she needs. And it doesn't serve the relationship because relationships can't survive on autopilot. So look, relationships are hard. They require constant choice, constant investment, constant showing up. And sometimes we get tired, sometimes we get hurt, sometimes we get disappointed, and we withdraw to protect ourselves. And that's human, that's understandable. But what's not okay is staying withdrawn indefinitely without addressing why or without being honest about what it means. So if you're emotionally checked out, figure out why. If it's fixable, fix it. If it's not, be honest about it. But don't just stay in limbo, letting her go through the stages of realizing she's lost you while you're still physically there, because that's not fair to either of you. And if you're watching this because you're on the other side, if you're the one who has realized that someone has emotionally checked out of your relationship, understand that their withdrawal is not necessarily about you. It might be about them, their fears, their hurt, their own internal struggles. But also understand that you can't love someone back into emotional presence. You can't care enough for both people. You can't single-handedly save a relationship that the other person has already left emotionally. So protect yourself. Know your worth. Don't lose yourself trying to reconnect with someone who's already gone. And remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone go, even if you're not ready to lose them. Because here's the truth about emotional withdrawal. It's rarely about the other person. It's usually about unresolved issues within ourselves. It's about our own capacity for intimacy, our own fears of vulnerability, our own patterns of self-protection. And until we address those things, we'll keep repeating the same patterns in every relationship we enter. So whether you're the one who's emotionally checked out or the one who's dealing with someone who has, use this as an opportunity for growth. Use this as a chance to understand yourself better, to understand your patterns, to understand what you need in a relationship and what you're willing to give. Because at the end of the day, relationships are mirrors. They reflect back to us our own capacity for love, for commitment, for vulnerability, for growth. And when we emotionally check out, we're not just withdrawing from the other person. We're withdrawing from ourselves, from our own growth, from our own potential for connection and intimacy. So take this seriously, not just for the sake of your current relationship, but for the sake of your future ones. Because the patterns we don't address in one relationship, we carry into the next, and the next, and the next, until we finally decide to break the cycle. Remember, emotional presence is a choice. It's not something that just happens. It's something we actively decide to engage in every single day. And when we stop making that choice, when we stop showing up emotionally, we need to be honest about what that means and what we're going to do about it. Because the woman in your life, she deserves someone who's emotionally present, someone who's invested, someone who chooses to show up every day. And if you can't be that person for her, then let her find someone who can. That's the real conversation we need to be having about emotional withdrawal. Not how to hide it better or how to manage it, but how to understand it, how to address it, and how to make conscious choices about our emotional investment in our relationships. So that's it, my guy. That's what happens when she realizes you've emotionally checked out. It's not pretty, it's not subtle, and it's not sustainable. So figure out where you stand, figure out what you want, and then have the courage to be